Praise be Jesus Christ. One of the Medjugorje visionaries, Mirjana Soldo, in her book, My Heart Will Triumph, she writes, I asked the Blessed Mother once where most people go when they die. She said that most go to purgatory before ultimately passing through to heaven. The next greatest number go to hell, and few go directly to heaven. Now, this notion that most people need to pass through purgatory before entering into heaven, this is something that St. John of the Cross kind of implied or gave indication of in his teaching, that most people will need a final purification through the fire of God's love so that they can enter into the glory of heaven. And also, Pope Benedict XVI also kind of gave this, shared this idea. So the idea is, this is how I see it. Heaven, of course, is glorious, beautiful, wonderful beyond our wildest imagination. Sometimes heaven is described as a banquet. And we all understand that before you enter into a beautiful banquet, well, you take a shower, you get cleaned up, you want to enter into that banquet properly cleaned up. Especially, you say you're working out in the fields or you're working in the shop, or you had a busy day running around, you're kind of disheveled. You want to get cleaned up before entering into the eternal banquet. And the hopeful interpretation is that for many people, the cleanup, people who did really live a holy life, a life, centered around, loving God and neighbor, maybe that cleanup might be something as simple as, oh, there you go. Okay, come on in, or let's just fix you up a bit. Okay, come on in. So the hope is that for a great many people, this passing through purgatory is just a final touch-up before entering into heaven. We know, of course, that some people will need a deep purification through the fire of God's love before entering into heaven. And unfortunately, the reality is, based on Scripture, that some people will choose to reject definitively God's mercy, and that's a mystery. It's an awful thought, but because we have freedom, that's an option. And the idea that few people go straight to heaven, that could very well be the case. But they say, if you abandon yourself completely to God, there's no reason that when you die, you can't go straight to heaven. And this is something that, for example, Sister Emmanuelle Maillard teaches based on Saint Thérèse of Lisieux and the mystic Maria Sima, that if we just abandon ourselves to God's love as we're dying, in our sufferings, in our trials, in our pain, that abandonment to God brings the love of God. That's what Saint Thérèse of Lisieux insisted. Listen, if you allow God's love to fill you, that purifies. You don't need to expect to go to purgatory. But I guess the idea is, so few people in this world get that. The idea of just abandoning oneself totally to God's love. So few people do that. So I hope you can be one of the few who does just abandon yourself totally to God's love so that you can go straight to heaven. And a scripture for you, 1 Corinthians chapter 3, for no one can lay a foundation other than the one that is there, namely Jesus Christ. If anyone builds on this foundation with gold, silver, precious stones, wood, hay, or straw, the work of each will come to light, for the day will disclose it. It will be revealed with fire, and the fire itself will test the quality of each one's work. If the work stands, that someone built upon the foundation, that person will receive a wage. But if someone's work is burned up, that one will suffer loss. The person will be saved, but only as through fire. Do you not know that you are the temple of God and that the Spirit of God dwells in you? Viva Cristo Rey.